Ma'am, I need that refill today. It's an active investigation, and I don't have time for paperwork.
Officer, I understand the urgency, but I can't dispense a controlled medication without a valid script. That's the law.
I'm telling you it's authorized. Just hand it over and we can settle the details later.
I'm sorry, but no, you need the prescriber's signature entered.
Officer Ryan Callahan had no idea that the moment he stepped across that threshold, his life as he knew it was effectively over. He wasn't just walking into a pharmacy, he was walking into a trap he set for himself. In exactly 11 minutes and 43 seconds, he would dismantle a 15-year career, vaporize his pension, and become a national case study on police misconduct. The woman standing behind that counter, looking unassuming in her white coat, wasn't just a pharmacist. She was a legal weapon. She had spent 3 years in law school specifically preparing for a moment exactly like this one. She knew the federal code better than the department's internal affairs division. She knew the constitutional tripwires he was blindly walking into. And perhaps most dangerously for Officer Callahan, she knew that the 4K security cameras positioned in the ceiling were capturing every syllable, every threat, and every violation in high-definition audio and video. This was not going to be the routine shakedown he was used to. This was going to be a masterclass in civil rights, and you are about to witness every second of the destruction. But before we analyze the footage and break down exactly how this officer destroyed his own life, I need you to answer a question that might seem simple, but is actually quite complex. If an authority figure demanded access to your private life right now, would you know exactly where the line is drawn? Tell me in the comments where you're watching from, and be honest, would you know how to say no? Because what you're about to hear might change the way you interact with authority forever. If you believe that knowledge is the only defense against tyranny, make sure you are subscribed. We are going deep on this one. To understand the magnitude of this confrontation, we have to understand the architect of this defense, Erica Johnson, 34 years old. On the surface, a dedicated healthcare provider. But beneath that calm demeanor was a fortress of legal knowledge. She had been a pharmacist for 8 years, but early in her career, she noticed a disturbing pattern. She saw how often pharmacies served as soft targets for law enforcement fishing expeditions. She watched officers bully staff, demand records without warrants, and trample on patient privacy because they knew most pharmacists were too afraid to say no. Erica refused to be afraid. She did something radical. While working full-time, she enrolled in law school. For 3 years, she sacrificed her sleep and her social life to master health law, privacy regulations, and constitutional protections. She didn't just study these laws, she internalized them. She graduated with honors, passed the bar on her first attempt, and then, in a move that surprised everyone, she went back to the pharmacy. She didn't want to be a lawyer in a courtroom. She wanted to be the first line of defense in the real world. She armed herself with the Fourth Amendment and the intricacies of HIPAA compliance. She understood the gray areas where police thrive, relying on intimidation and the average citizen's ignorance. She knew that when an officer says, "I need," it is often a request, not a lawful order. And she was waiting for someone to test her. Her pharmacy was the perfect battleground. Nestled in a diverse, working-class neighborhood in Seattle, Washington, it was an independent operation. Erica owned it. She controlled the policy. She employed a team that looked like the community they served. 3 pharmacists, 5 technicians, serving 300 patients a day. These weren't just customers, they were vulnerable people. Many were from marginalized communities, managing chronic conditions, battling the complexities of the American healthcare system. Erica viewed her role as a guardian. She knew that for her patients on HIV medication or hormone therapy, or those in addiction recovery using Suboxone, privacy wasn't a luxury, it was a matter of survival. If that information leaked, if it fell into the hands of a prejudiced officer or was used to build a flimsy case, lives could be ruined. To Erica, these weren't files. They were human beings trusting her with their secrets. Then came that Tuesday afternoon in October, the calm before the storm. The pharmacy was quiet, the hum of the refrigerator the only real sound. Erica was processing a prior authorization for a diabetes medication, her mind on the paperwork. Then the bells above the door chimed. It wasn't a friendly sound. It was the arrival of Officer Ryan Callahan. Let's profile him for a second. 42 years old. A 15-year veteran of the Seattle Police Department, specifically the Narcotics Division. Callahan was what is known in the legal world as a cowboy. He had a reputation for results, but those results came at a cost. Defense attorneys knew him as the guy who cut corners, who made assumptions, who believed the ends always justified the means. He had complaints on his file, excessive force, intimidation, but nothing had stuck. The system protected him. He was used to his badge being a skeleton key that unlocked every door. He was used to fear being his primary tool. Callahan didn't walk to the counter, he marched. He didn't offer a greeting. He didn't ask if the pharmacist had a moment. He initiated the interaction with a demand, asserting dominance immediately. He announced he was conducting an investigation and required immediate access to security footage and specific patient records. He threw the words out like stones, expecting the glass to shatter. Erica looked up. She didn't flinch. She didn't scramble to obey. She recognized the tone, the posture, and the vagueness. This was a fishing expedition. "Officer, I'm Erica Johnson, the head pharmacist and owner," she said. Her voice was steady, void of the panic he was fishing for. "Can you tell me specifically what you're investigating?" Callahan blinked. He wasn't used to questions. He gave a non-answer. He cited suspicious activity and a need to review recent transactions. Suspicious is a police catch-all. It means everything and nothing. In a court of law, it holds no weight with articulable facts. Erica knew this. She knew that suspicious is not probable cause. I want you to pause and think about this dynamic. You have a man with a gun and a badge leaning over a counter, using his physical presence to shrink the space. Callahan placed both hands on the counter, leaning in, a classic intimidation tactic designed to trigger a fight-or-flight response. He wanted her to fold. He wanted her to hand over the data just to make him go away. But Erica didn't lean back. She held her ground. She maintained eye contact. She let the silence stretch, forcing him to sit in his own discomfort. Then Callahan escalated. "Ma'am, I'm going to be very clear with you. I'm conducting an official police investigation. Refusing to cooperate is obstruction. I don't think you want to be charged with obstruction." There it was, the threat, the nuclear option. Obstruction of justice is a serious felony. For 99% of the population, hearing that word from a uniformed officer induces terror. It shuts down critical thinking. It compels compliance. But for Erica Johnson, it was a bluff. She knew the statutes. You cannot obstruct an investigation by exercising your constitutional rights. You cannot obstruct by demanding a warrant. Refusal to consent to a warrantless search is not a crime. It is a right. Erica's response was surgical. "Officer Callahan, I can see your badge number is 2847. I am not obstructing anything. I am following federal law. If you have a warrant or a court order, I will comply immediately. But I cannot and will not violate HIPAA regulations simply because you are asking me to." She stripped him of his anonymity by reading his badge number aloud. She framed her refusal as compliance with a higher law. She didn't say, "I won't." She said, "I cannot." This shifted the power dynamic. She wasn't being difficult, she was being professional. Callahan's face changed, the mask slipped. He realized the standard script wasn't working, so he pivoted to condescension. You know, in 15 years, I've dealt with a lot of pharmacies. Most people understand that cooperation makes things easier, but there's always a few who think they're smarter than everybody else, who think they know better. This was a psychological prod. He was trying to make her feel isolated, like the outlier, the problem. He was attacking her ego. Erica didn't take the bait. "I don't think I'm smarter than anyone," she replied, her voice cooling the air in the room. "I'm just following the law, the same law that applies to every pharmacy in this city." Callahan snapped. "Yeah, well, maybe where you come from, people do things differently, but here we expect cooperation. We expect respect." Where you come from. The coded language was loud and clear. It was a microaggression designed to other her, to imply she didn't belong. Erica stood in her own neighborhood, in the city of her birth, and looked him dead in the eye. "Where I come from is Seattle, officer, born and raised. And respect goes both ways. I respect your position, which is why I'm clarifying the legal requirements. I'm asking you to respect mine by following proper procedure." The pharmacy was silent. Customers were watching. Chinese, a young technician, was witnessing her boss dismantle a police officer's authority without raising her voice. Callahan felt the eyes on him. His ego was bruising, and a bruised ego is dangerous. He pointed a finger at her. "You know what your problem is? People like you come here, open these little shops, and think the rules don't apply. You think that degree on the wall lets you talk down to people protecting this community." "People like me?" asked softly. "What does that mean, officer?" "I see it all the time," Callahan spat back. "You come in, set up shop in our neighborhoods, act like experts. Meanwhile, we deal with the real problems." "Our neighborhoods," Erica repeated. "Officer, this is my neighborhood. I live 4 blocks away. These are my patients." A customer, an elderly man, tried to intervene, defending Erica. Callahan spun on him, aggressive, erratic. "Sir, step back. This doesn't concern you." He was losing control of the scene. He turned back to Erica, flushed and desperate. He needed a win. He needed entry, so he tried a different lie. "Actually, since you want to be difficult, I think I need to conduct a full inspection of this facility. Make sure everything is up to code. Make sure your medications are accounted for. In these neighborhoods, we find irregularities when we look." This is a tactic known as pretexting. If he couldn't get the records for the investigation, he would invent a regulatory reason to tear the place apart. But Erica was 2 steps ahead. "Code violations fall under the jurisdiction of the Washington State Department of Health, not local police," she stated, reciting the jurisdictional boundaries as if reading from a textbook. "We were inspected by the board 6 weeks ago. We are in full compliance. If you have concerns, file a complaint with the agency." "But you do not have the authority to conduct a regulatory inspection without authorization." Callahan reached for his radio. The universal signal for, "I'm calling backup to make your life miserable." It was the last card in his deck. Erica stopped him with a sentence that would later appear in court documents. "Officer, before you make that call, let's be clear. You entered without a warrant. You demanded protected health information. You threatened me with criminal charges for following federal law. You attempted a pretextual search claiming code violations. All of this is recorded. There are witnesses. If you proceed, I will file a formal complaint and pursue a civil rights lawsuit for Fourth Amendment and HIPAA violations." The air left the room. Callahan froze. His hand hovered over the radio. He looked at her, really looked at her, and realized he wasn't looking at a shopkeeper. He was looking at the end of his career. He saw the camera lens blinking red. He saw the witnesses. He saw a woman who wasn't bluffing. "I'll be back with the paperwork," he muttered, a hollow attempt to save face. "I look forward to seeing it," Erica replied, "and please call ahead. I'd like to minimize disruption to patient care." Callahan walked out. He didn't look back. The door chimed, signaling his defeat. Chanice, the technician, exhaled a breath she'd been holding for 10 minutes. Dr. Johnson, I've never seen anyone handle a cop like that. Erica didn't celebrate. She went to work. She knew the war wasn't over. The battle had just shifted venues. She immediately secured the footage, saving it to multiple cloud servers. Evidence has a funny way of disappearing in police custody. She ensured this wouldn't. Then she called David Park, a healthcare attorney. David watched the footage and saw exactly what Erica saw, a textbook Section 1983 civil rights violation. He's going to be angry, David warned, and angry cops come back with friends. We need to strike first. They didn't wait. They went on the offensive. Over the next 48 hours, they drafted a 12-page formal complaint. It was a masterpiece of legal documentation. Timestamps, citations, screenshots. It landed on the desk of Captain Lisa Morales, the supervisor of Callahan's unit. Captain Morales was a no-nonsense leader who survived 20 years in the force by adhering to the book. She watched the video. She heard the tone. She heard the racist undertones of "you people" and "our neighborhoods." She heard the admission of having no warrant. She called Callahan in. She played the video. She asked him one question. Did you have a warrant? No. Did you threaten obstruction for following federal privacy law? Yes, but I thought. You thought what? Morales cut him off. You thought HIPAA was a suggestion? You thought your badge overruled the Constitution? Callahan was suspended on the spot, gun and badge on the desk. But the internal affairs investigation opened a Pandora's box. They reviewed his history and found a pattern. 3 other cases in 6 months where he had bullied citizens into handing over private data. They had complied out of fear. Erica was the anomaly. She was the one who said no. The investigation concluded that Callahan had violated department policy, federal law, and civil rights. He was terminated, fired. But Erica didn't stop at his termination. She filed a federal lawsuit. The city's attorneys looked at the case, looked at the video, and imagined that playing in front of a jury. They saw a settlement check with a lot of zeros. They settled for a confidential amount in the mid-6 figures. But Erica demanded more than money. She demanded policy change. The settlement required new training for the entire force on HIPAA and police interactions in healthcare settings. Erica personally reviewed the training materials. Because of this incident, the department overhauled its oversight procedures. Every request for protected information now required supervisor approval. A reporter from the Seattle Times picked up the story and it went national. Erica became a quiet legend in the pharmacy world, speaking at conferences, empowering other providers to stand up. But the real impact was local. The patients in that neighborhood, the ones Callahan claimed to be protecting, felt safer. A young woman with HIV told Erica she almost switched pharmacies out of fear of stigma, but after hearing how Erica stood up to the police, she knew her secrets were safe. Ryan Callahan never worked in law enforcement again. The termination for cause on his record was a scarlet letter. He left the profession entirely. Some said it was harsh, one incident ending a career. But it wasn't one incident. It was the exposure of a mindset that believes authority is absolute. Erica used the settlement money to pay off her student loans and started a legal aid fund for other healthcare workers facing intimidation. Today, if you walk into that pharmacy, you'll see a small sign in multiple languages explaining patient privacy rights. It's a subtle reminder of the day the bells chimed, a bully walked in, and a pharmacist stood her ground. The lesson here isn't just about knowing the law. It's about the realization that rights are like muscles. They atrophy if you don't use them. Erica Johnson didn't just protect her pharmacy, she protected the integrity of the system. She proved that one person, armed with the truth and the courage to speak it, is more powerful than any badge. If this story fired you up, if you believe in holding power accountable, you need to share this video. Send it to a healthcare worker, a law student, or anyone who needs to know that no is a complete sentence. And before you go, hit that subscribe button. We are building a community of critical thinkers here, and I want you to be part of it. Leave a comment below telling me, what was Callahan's biggest mistake? Was it the lack of a warrant, or was it underestimating who he was dealing with? I'll see you in the comments. Stay safe, know your rights, and never let them intimidate you.